Welcome to Take the Helm podcast, where we will share stories, experiences, data, and best practices with industry leaders, friends, and dealers. From market conditions to insights, leadership development to tough conversations, take the helm.
Hey everybody, John Green here once again with Lead Helm. Right here on my shirt, I got my Lead Helm crew with me today. We're all decked out. Love it, love it. And as you know, you listen to these, this is the 11th one of these Take the Helm podcasts that we've done, and we've done several webinars and discussions, and I lead them all off with the fact that I'm excited. You guys are probably tired of hearing me say that, but right, anytime we can talk about how do we sell more vehicles, particularly now in a little bit more challenging environment that we've seen in the last few years, when we can talk about how do we sell more vehicles and how do we do it with an exceptional customer experience and how do we blend digital and physical together, to me, that's exciting. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today, and we got more great stuff for you, right? More great stuff. This is the 11th one, right? Last couple weeks ago, episode 10 that we did was myself and Aaron Barney, and on that one we had Fran O'Hagan, and hopefully you've seen that. If you haven't, please check it out. You can find all these on leadhelm.com. Fran is the founder and president of Pied Piper, okay? And Pied Piper does mystery shops. They do phone shops, they do in-store physical shops, and they do online internet shops or digital shops. And we were talking to Fran specifically about the most recent internet lead effectiveness report that came out. So the ILE report measures how well dealerships do in various verticals, automotive, power sports, agriculture, so forth. How well do they do in response time, answering questions, the tenacity of their follow-up, and they roll all that together and they get a score. Excellent. Timely discussion and right in the wheelhouse where we live. So what came out of that, I think, was actually quite concerning and potentially, as a dealer, alarming, in that as business has gotten a little more challenging, okay, and you guys all know what I mean by that, right? We've got interest rate situations, we've got inflation situations that are on consumers' minds, we've got an interesting political and global unrest situation that weighs on people, we've got inventory, plenty of it at this point for the most part, and maybe demand is not keeping pace with that, okay? And at the same time, we've got all kinds of people, us included, 20 club groups, OEMs, other consultants pointing the finger all the time at the importance of digital. How do we get engaged with customers online? Because that's where they're starting their journey. Almost all of them are starting their journey online, 95% of them. And even with all of that focus, and even with the tougher business climate, we actually saw over the past year, the power sports ILE score collectively went down. So as a group, right, and I say we because we still have motorcycle stores, so when I say we are part of this, we've gotten worse in this space. At the same time, automotive has gotten better. And so we thought, well, that's a bit troubling. So it's actually caused us to put together this episode today. So we're going to bring you today with Jason and Eric. I'll give you a bit of a more introduction and background on these two in a second, some real world answers on how we get better at a piece of this thing, right? There's a lot of people telling you it's important. There's not as many people telling you exactly how to do this. So that's what we're here to do today. So I have Erica Ennis on here. Erica, how are you?
Doing great, thank you.
She's good. This is Erica's debut. She's excited about this. You guys have seen Jason and you've seen me probably more than you want to, but it's Erica's podcast debut. Usually we have her just holed up working on special projects, right? That's really her gig for us. But I won't go into details about what that means, but if that's technology and development or some of our work with Ring Central and TCR approvals and all that kind of stuff. But what she's doing right now, I think that's most fascinating and timely for today is, as of Tuesday, she's been actively working leads on behalf of one of our dealer clients. Okay, so we've got a short-term program, we call it a feeder program, where she's working their leads in conjunction with some of their newer staff members to get them fully trained up. So she's on the ground, working leads, having response time, having set kept, and sold metrics applied. So she's going to bring that reality to what we're talking about today, because that's as good as it gets. And then I've also got Jason. Jason, looking good again.
Hello.
He didn't get the black memo. He went blue memo. It's all right. That was last week.
Gotta get our calendar synced up.
I know we did all right. Two out of three is not bad. So Jason runs our client success division here at Lead Helm, and what that means is he works every day with people in the dealerships that are using the Lead Helm software. Okay, and not just talking about how the software functions. That's part of it. Talking about the data that comes from it. What do we extract from the KPIs? What kind of coaching and insights can we share from that information? And I think what some people don't get is we've come out of the motorcycle business. That's really where we grew up. So our understanding of operationally, how do you do the things that we're talking about right now, is really, really strong. So a lot of Jason's work is with dealers and process. How do we actually capture this opportunity that's laid out there? So that's their current role for Lead Helm. Prior to that, in another business that we had, they actually were either top performing agents and eventually were promoted up to oversee teams of agents. Okay, so these two have overseen agents and worked leads, well over 1 million leads under their belt. So when I talk about real world, real people doing real work, I've got these two that are here today. So before we jump into this, Jay, I'm going to come back. You and I had a conversation yesterday, and I just want you to share. You've had some personal experience here over the last several days with a vehicle sales, right? A vehicle purchase that you were trying to get done, and talk about that in store and digital. I think there's some insights there. This is the real world, right? We're consumers too. This is what happens. So tell everybody what happened.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things too. When you're in the field and then you're being served, it's not easy to separate what you know versus how you want to be treated. Whether you are a cook or professional baseball player, you want to be able to say, well, I could do that, and this is how they should have done it. And so we were looking at getting a new vehicle, and so families get bigger, you need more space. And I did a couple leads just to see. I wasn't intentionally trying to see how I was going to be treated. I wanted the information on the vehicles that had caught our eye. And the worst experience was about what we're going to talk about. Is like, I didn't get fast follow-up. I didn't get personalized responses. I didn't get any treatment that encouraged me to want to, really go to that dealership. And then at one of the spots, I didn't get responded to at all. I got nothing. Still haven't gotten a response back. But then when I did get the response at the first place, which was the vehicle I was most interested in, I got one of the canned responses of, reply yes if you want to talk. And I get through TCR what all that's about. But then when I respond, and it's 4 hours to get a follow-up. And then I get that follow-up. I asked for something particular, like pictures. Never got anything. I even went out of my way because I was out with my daughter, and I just stopped by that place unannounced. I wasn't talked to on the dealer lot. I looked at vehicles all over the place. I didn't see the one I was interested in, and I left. And that's when my job and my experience kind of kicked in. I was like, I'm going to follow up with them. And so I said, hey, thanks. I stopped by, didn't see the vehicle I asked about. You haven't responded to me. So thanks anyway. Then of course I'm getting a phone call. Oh, I was at lunch. I'm sorry. And, we'd love to work with you. I was like, well, the people I saw in your dealership lot that I walked by that had dealership name staff shirt on, they didn't want to talk to me. So I don't really feel like, my business is that needed. Oh, no, come back. I was like, I'll only come back if I can see the vehicle I asked to see. Oh, yeah, we'll have it parked right out when you get there. So I dragged my daughter back up there, and they tried to show me totally different vehicles, not the ones that I asked about. They don't have that one available and all this different things. So it was just all around, a very, very poor experience. And then, of course, like we were saying, like we didn't we wouldn't have done this, and we don't coach how to do that. And, the different things that we're going to talk about today are so important. And as an actual purchasing buyer, I didn't get treated that way. The place that I didn't inquire in, that I just popped into, is where I bought. And that was my second choice vehicle. And they blew me away with their customer service. I told them on that first day with my daughter that, I'm not here to buy today. And my wife has to be involved. She needs to see it. She needs to like it. She's going to drive it the most. No pressure. I got to check out the vehicle, check out a comparable model, took pictures of it, no pressure. Left, I got a thank you text for stopping in from the guy. The next day, I took my wife up there. It was actually the next day, the dealership was closed. So we went up there and looked at it just together for to eyeball it. And then the next day, I set the appointment. I set up and said, hey, Erica, I want to stop in tomorrow with my wife. She wants to test drive it. And they had everything ready. It was clean. They had that. The other vehicle I looked at that I didn't ask for available for the test drive. And they blew us away, and that's the one we bought. But it was really disheartening, the first experience. And then hopefully someday the other place will acknowledge my response and I can tell them I'm not in the market, but still waiting on that text.
So again, that's a reality. And it is unfortunate that happens, but you did exactly what consumers do, right? I'm going to go, and you didn't, nowhere in your discussion right there, nowhere in there did you say anything about the price, right? You got a fair deal, but you went where the service was the best, where they were attentive, right? We always think it's about price, and it's not. Consumers, price is 3 or 4 down the list, right? How was I serviced? Proximity of the dealership, product availability, the service reputation, online reviews. You can chunk those things, and price is in there somewhere, but it's not the top one. Never has been.
For sure. I mean, obviously, when we were talking about it, price, me and the wife, price is important. Monthly budgets are important. Those things are there. But like you said, I want to see what I want to see, not what you want to show me. I want to be treated better. Go out of your way to let me have all the time to make my decision. Don't say, buy today, it's a better price than, those type of things weren't played on me. But when I was given the totality of everything, the price, the experience, the product, all that came together based on how I was treated.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just a great reminder of we are consumers, right, as well as retailers, and we got to wear that consumer hat sometime and understand. I think that's part of the beauty of some of those mystery shops, right? It allows us to really understand what is happening through the consumer's eyes without having to practice on a consumer. It's too valuable to try to practice on train on consumers right now, live people. All right, I'm glad. Thanks for sharing that. So. Shifted to specifically topic of the day. Okay, we're going to talk about set appointments, right? How do we drive the set appointment percentage up? Because we can't get kept and we can't get sold until we get set. Okay, so we've got a certain number of leads that come in. What percentage of those can we actually set appointments with? This in the metrics that we track when we look at set percentages and kept and sold. This is the most difficult benchmark to achieve, okay? The benchmark on set percentage is 40%. We'd like to see 40% set, 70% of those kept, and somewhere between 30 and 40, and we've got some dealers now north of 40 on the conversion of that kept appointment when they come in. We see kept and solds hit more consistently, or kept and sold, sets is the one that's a bit of a challenge. So we're going to talk about that, but I think what we're really going to try to dive in today is the activities that are required to get to the set appointment. Okay, so as managers and owners out there, I want you to think a little deeply on this one. Set appointments are the result of multiple activities. I think we should start looking at tracking some of those activities. Okay, and you may say, look, I'm already tracking outbound phone calls and emails and texts. Okay, that's production. Okay, that's busyness. That's part of the job. You have to have a volume of outbound particles to be good at this. But what I really want you to think about is how many people did we actually contact? How many people did we have engagement with? And what were the outcomes of each of those engagements? Because I can be busy all day long. I can show you all kinds of phone calls and text messages and emails, but if I don't get engagement and I don't actually connect with anybody, I'm being busy. I'm not being productive. And we don't have the luxury of just being busy now. We have to be productive. So, contacts, how did we move them? What are some of the milestones that lead up to a set appointment? I'm gonna turn it over to these two to help us with that. So, first step, okay, we're gonna talk about 3 steps today. Get to the lead first, get to the lead the best, and stay with the lead the longest. If you do those 3 things, right, the 3-legged stool stays standing up and it doesn't tip over, and we'll look at a diagram at the end that helps put all this together. We have to do all 3 of those things: get there first, get there best, stay there longest, and we will win the appointment. That's the game right now. So we're talking about getting there first. So Erica, let's talk about you. You've been doing these leads. Talk to me about why it's important to get there. Talk to us actually first between yesterday and today, or Tuesday and Wednesday. What was your response time, and how do you know?
My average response time to incoming leads is 2 minutes, 45 seconds. I do track that through our lead home software. It's very important to make sure you're reaching out to those clients or customers first. I mean, just like Jason said, he was shopping multiple locations at the same time. They're doing the same thing. So getting there first is extremely important. You have to get there while they're shopping. If you don't, I mean, you could lose them.
2 minutes, 45 seconds.
2 minutes, 45 seconds. I've tried as quick as possible.
Well, I think you're right, and it's possible, but you're attentive to it, right? You're paying attention to that, and I think that's a big piece, right? These customers are not sending out leads just to one place, right? They're sending them out to multiple places, and they're looking again, who gets to me the first, who stays with me, and so forth. So, all right, so speed to lead, and I think part of that is
And I,
go, Jay.
oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say too, part of the thing, kudos to Erica, is these are personalized responses. These aren't just an automatic thank you for shopping Erica's dealership and we'll get with you soon. This is a real live response from her. It's not an autoresponder. It's not a pre-generated response. It is from her to the lead and the inquiry. So that also is a very important part of this about getting there first, but also being real. Like, it's autoresponders. That's instantaneous response, but that's just a canned response.
No, I think that's a big piece of it, right? We talk about being authentic in the follow-up, because customers can see through just canned pieces or automated things. Not that automated is bad, but you can't just live on the automated, right? There has to be a person involved that's real at some point in here, because the customer's going to know that. I think the other thing that's interesting when we talk about response time, it's not just response time to the initial lead, right? So lead comes in and, hey, I've got a question, or I need this, or what's your best price, or what's my trade worth? That's the initial lead. And we want to get there in under 5 minutes, under 10 minutes, right? Get there as fast as we can. Wherever you are now in response time, work to get it a little bit faster, a little bit faster, a little bit faster. But it's equally as important when a customer decides to re-engage, right? Because they move in and out of the shopping mindset because they have life, like we all do, happening. Okay, so I'm going to send a lead in now. Erica's going to respond to me in 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and we may go back and forth a bit, and then life takes over. I've got to go back to work, or I got to pick up Jimmy from school, or whatever, right? Just stuff happens. But at a certain point, I'm going to get back into that mindset again. It's like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about that vehicle again, that bike, that boat, whatever you want. I'm going to think about that, and they're going to reach back out. Okay, so they're in the mindset. So I need to be quick, 2 minutes and 45 seconds, right? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something when they re-engage, because we got to capture them in the moment, right? This is emotion. We don't sell logical product. We sell emotional product. So we have to capture them at that point. So big piece there. And Jason, maybe you can share, you look at all of our client data pretty regularly. Where do our clients fall in response time on this? We're still on piece 1 of this thing, which is get there fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just said the key times. Under 10 minutes is good. Under 5 minutes is great. And I do think a majority of our active clients are in the good to great category. A lot of things of how your dealership is structured can affect this. If you're working on your feed, if you have multiple roles, and our software fits those needs too. But the people with dedicated frontline users, like the role Erica's filling for our one client right now, their response time is the under 10-minute, under 5-minute great response time to that initial lead. And then they're even better at the response back end. The thanks for getting back with me. Tell me more about that bike. Tell me more about that boat. What colors come in? Those responses are the most important, because then you have them in that mindset you're talking about of, I want to know about this vehicle. You can capture that emotion, you can capture that focus to next step to the customer, ultimately to an appointment to give the sales opportunity. When they respond to you, like my situation, 4 hours later, and they don't answer my question, they don't know where I'm at in my day 4 hours later. We don't know where the customer's at, to if they're in the mindset to think about that now. You lose that quick response. You are almost starting over with the customer. All your goodwill about responding first under 5 minutes is gone because you took 4 hours to respond to their response.
Yeah. And Erica, what do you find? Do you find, how much difference would you say? You don't have slow response time, so you don't know. But back when you were overseeing multiple agents, did you see a big difference in customer engagement based on response time? The longer we waited, did they get less excited to recommunicate with us?
Absolutely. Yeah, if you don't respond to them right away, you might get that initial greeting out to let them know that you saw their inquiry. But if you're not responding back to them when they are asking questions, they will move on. You will lose that customer right away. They'll go somewhere else to somebody else who's talking to them. And make sure you have that information. You can talk. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I think we'll cover this a little bit at the end, right? But what this really comes back to right now, the reality of our business, and again, if we're talking to marine dealers or automotive dealers or power sports dealers, it the battle for the customer is being fought online right now, right? If you can get them into your store, you've won a huge part of the battle, because they're somewhat captive. I'm not saying you're just going to hold on to them, but they're somewhat captive because you're there. And if you can deliver a great experience while they're on site, great. But they're going to do a bunch of research online. Okay. They're going to look at OEM sites. They're going to look at dealership sites. They're going to look at review sites. They're going to do all those things. And ultimately, they're going to start to try to have dialogue with multiple people, multiple points, and the best online experience they have will dictate the one or possibly two dealerships that they ultimately go to. Okay. They're not going to shop 5 or 6 or 7 places. That just doesn't happen any longer. They're doing that online, right? So this battle, what we're talking about right now, is where you're going to win that customer. Customers have always been valuable. They're even more so today. And I think the last little piece on this, and then we'll jump to the second step, is we use this analogy a lot. Okay, and even Fran talked about this on the last podcast. But I'll give you both analogies, his and ours. Ours was, how long, if you're the sales manager, a general manager, or an owner, how long is it okay for somebody to walk in your showroom in person without being greeted? How long's okay? It's not 4 hours, and it's not even 10 minutes. Okay. We have to apply the same level of intensity and scrutiny and expectation to the digital customer. Okay. If it's in the store, I want them greeted immediately. Okay. Then we have to staff and attend to and be aware of inbound leads with that same tenacity to make this thing go. Okay. That's on the good side. Fran's point is, look, even if your average is 48 hours right now for a response time, it is what it is. Okay. Let's at least get to a point where we're going to respond to every lead that was received today before we go home at night. Okay. And his analogy was, would you ever go around at the end of the day and lock up the dealership with customers still inside? No. Same thing. Okay. Don't leave these people hanging overnight. So let's at least get to end of day, and then let's start to make it better and better and better. So, speed to lead, right? Get there first. That's the first one. Second one, okay, when we say get there best, okay, what does that mean? We already talked about autoresponders, and we don't think that's the best. We know that's not the best. Consumers know that's not the best. And we've talked about consumer shopping multiple places at the same time with leads out there. But Erica, help share a little bit with what do we mean by best? Because there's a variety of ways you can respond and what you can share. So help explain what we're getting at here.
Sure. What we mean is building that relationship, having a personal conversation with somebody versus straight, business. It's more like you're talking to a friend. That's how I think about it, at least. I look at what kind of questions and information they're looking for, reach out to them, and try and build that relationship. Answer their questions and make them feel important and special. Make them want to come in and see you.
And so there's a couple things in there, right? Sometimes we lose sight of the fact that the ultimate goal when we talk to a customer online is the same as it is when they come into the store, they call us on the phone. And it's about a relationship first, right? We talk about people before we talk about product. Okay. We have to have a relationship, right? Salesperson to customer relationships are contentious. Person to person relationships are great. So we have to do that piece of it. And I think the other thing that you said, also part of the internet lead effectiveness scores, did we answer their question, right? Because that lead comes in, we get some information. And if we just ignore that and say, hey, great, when can you come into the store? The customer's like, you're not even paying attention to what I said. Right. So what can you extract from a lead, right? What do you see? You see we get them in an ADF format, right? What can you typically see, at least inside our system, that helps you drive the quality of that interaction?
You can see everything in the ADF format. You can see what vehicle they're inquiring about, if a specific color, if they're asking for a specific picture on a specific unit, everything. There's places for comments in most ADF forms. Contact forms. So it's just important to read that and digest that information before you make that initial contact.
Yeah, right. I think it's always, we used to, back in some service training, my buddy Max Matern has a YMCA acronym for selling for service advisors. And the Y is always, so this is after the customers come in and we've looked at the vehicle in the service department and now we're getting ready to call them back. And the why is, you came in for this issue. We're going to talk about that first. Then we're going to talk about what my mechanic found, okay? And then we're going to talk about convenience things. And we're going to talk about accessory things. That's the acronym. But we always lead with what the customer asked because that's what's important to them. Okay, it doesn't matter what's important to us, it's what's important to them. So you're dead on that stuff. Excellent. Jason, let's talk about in here multiple attempts, right? We're not always going to get, the lead comes in and we're going to go at them a couple different ways, and we need to continue that. So maybe talk about ways that we're starting to lay the foundation to earn the appointment in this area.
Yeah, well, kind of like we've talked about, customers don't have the time to go to 7 dealerships and have a personal experience at each one. So they're saving them time by going online, and they do a lead here, they do a lead there. They see what they like. And then we can't just live by the one text, hi, thanks for inquiring with us. You have to follow up and send a phone call, send an email, follow up text. And multiple attempts is, trying to capture their attention when they're available. And if you just live by one attempt and hope that the customer does the work, they're not going to get with you, because they're going to have somebody who is going to have a consistent and structured follow-up across multiple different opportunities, email, call, or text, and that person is going to get that customer's attention first. And then it's not as easy as just, what do you say? Like to Erica's point, you have to go off of what they gave you. What was their hot buttons? Was it a color option? Was it a performance option? Was it a size option, bigger than what they have now? Customers will give you that information. Harley's my like niche, and if I know that my bike, my Softail's not getting the job done, I want something bigger, I might very well put that in those comments. I really need a bike that's more comfortable right on long distance. You have to formulate your response based on those customers' needs. To just like to your example, what's important to them is what you need to structure in your responses. You can't just go, when can you come in? Can you come here today? Can you be here tomorrow? That is secondary after you earn the relationship. Like to Erica's point, we are in a customer centric, field here that you have to earn a relationship first, or you won't have a chance to earn their business. But if you only try along one follow-up pattern, you're not going to make contact.
No. I think it's there's a couple things that both you guys, the takeaway from this, right? Let's make sure we read the information on the lead. Okay. Customer, what they're after is the most important. So do that. Have genuine, authentic responses in there, right? Where we actually care about what they're saying and who they are, and ultimately what they're trying to accomplish, right? That ultimately we want to get there, because if I can get them to share why this would make their world better, if I can get there, then we're going to win, right? Because now we have a relationship and they're starting to get excited because I'm going to help them achieve what they want. More freedom, more size, more time away, more peace of mind, more time with the family, more time with the friends, all that stuff. If I can land on that stuff, they're going to come and they're going to shop with us. So that's listening to that stuff. Listen and respond. Okay. This is not an interview. It's a dialogue. And that's how we have to approach that in that state. Okay. So first, right, we got to get there quick. Second, get there, answer their question, be genuine, be honest, create a relationship. And that is being the best kind of response right there, authentic and caring, because we really do, right? That's what we want to do, right? We sell product that helps people have better lives. That's why they come to us. Okay? Again, listen, retain, engage, personal relationships, help and try to understand what they're trying to accomplish. And if you can help them along the way, you're going to earn the appointment on that one. So that's two of the three. So number three we're going to talk about is stay with the lead the longest. And this, I'm gonna let these guys run through the data on this, but I will say this is the biggest, I would say, challenge and opportunity that we see inside the segments where we work. Okay, we tend, and when I say we, right, we still have dealerships. Okay, so this is a we statement. We tend to underestimate the amount of time and the number of touches it takes to actually nurture a lead all the way through arriving at the showroom with a kept appointment. So obviously we got to get set before we get kept, but we tend 2 or 3 attempts is not going to get it done. So we tend to not allocate enough headcount or enough time inside dealerships to properly work these leads. Okay. So when we talk about staying the longest, I'm gonna go back over to these two. So Jason, I'm gonna come to you on this. Talk a little bit about when a customer reaches out to us, we've got some activity that we need to do to even get them to continue to engage. And then we've got even more activity once they do engage at that point. So give us some of the data on that. What do you find?
Well, yeah, it's super important because, we in general, we kind of look at, I think, the online leads as easier, so we can do less effort. I can just say hi to Erica and she's going to come in and buy a bike. I can just say, thanks for inquiring. When are you going to come in? And it's just like a digital showroom needs to be treated like your physical showroom. So when our users, our clients are following up with that structured amount of cadence and different pathways, text, call, email, and focus driven on getting a response or acknowledging a customer's need and then building that relationship. Customers don't just come in and give you their wallet and buy something. You have still to plan for and prepare for what they're coming in to see. You have to, unlike my experience, you just can't switch the vehicle of interest because you don't have it and expect that it's going to go well. You have to make sure and communicate those things and have that experience driven in-house, internally. Do you have a tour of the dealership? Do you set up for test drives? You want to acknowledge all those things and prepare for those things so that when they get there, they are given that experience that drives them further into a sales process again The appointment isn't just to come in. You want to try to get a sale out of that, capture a customer's business. And if you just expect them to walk in and I'll take that bike home, it's not going to happen.
No, it's not. And I think the data, right, from the initial lead coming in, right, we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 touches and engagements with that customer before we get to a set appointment, right? Because again, they've got life going on and they're not just going to be ready to go in. So we talk about, right, I'm gonna give this to Eric in a second, right? The appointment is kind of the secondary goal of every engagement. Okay, there's usually something that's more important to the customer at that point. But again, we see more often, quite frankly, than we should. 2 to 3 attempts
the first
on a lead.
Days, the first 10 days of a customer's inquiry are the most important. In those first 10 days, a customer's schedule and availability and interest in the buying cycle is the highest. If I inquire today and I get one response today and I don't respond to it because I'm busy, then tomorrow I get one response, one text back, hey Jason, I haven't heard from you. And that's it. And I'm still not busy. Day 3, I only get one response. The dealership's not going to do enough to earn my engagement back, especially with busy life, with kids, with work, with family, with sicknesses, with all those different things. But if I get a text and a call today and an email, personalized, we see you're looking at this and we really want to show you, here's a link back to all of the units in that family or model. Then tomorrow I get a, hey, I probably missed you at work. Jason, what does your schedule look like? And I offer some options. I'm here all day till 5 o'clock. And I get those personalized responses as I'm going through my life as a person with obligations. There might come a time where I'm going to text back, oh, Erica sent me that link. I want to check it out. That's going to further that in those first 10 days than just a random call or a text. And that's all they get. In those first 10 days though, if I get a lackluster response from a dealer 1, but dealer 2 gives me a better experience. That's why I shop with dealer 2, not dealer 1. So we really have to capitalize on the amount and different pathways, but in those first 10 days, because there's just so much going on. And my bandwidth as a consumer is pulled in all those different directions, family, work, obligations, activities, I got to have something that engages me to respond back to Erica. If I'm just getting, hi, when you want to come in, it's not going to earn my business.
So that's great, Jason. So Erica, I'm gonna roll this over to you, right? So what we're really talking about in this piece, right, is not only cadence, okay? So how frequently are we hitting them, but we're also talking about content. Okay, so Erica, maybe give some thoughts, your thoughts, personal on either or both content and cadence. And again, in the first 10 days, lead comes in today. What are we going to do over these 10 days to really set ourselves apart?
Yeah. Let's see. So in the first 10 days, I would say you're really going to want to do more than just text. It's going to be text and phone call. That phone call is very important. Sometimes people don't have time to respond to text, and they will pick up the phone if you call, or vice versa. So that is definitely one thing that I think a lot of people miss is making that phone call. Everybody likes to live by the text, but phone calling is crucial. What you're gonna say, you're gonna read their ADS in a form when it comes in, and you're gonna personalize that message. You're gonna personalize that voicemail. You're gonna answer their questions the best you can. You're not gonna give them all the information up front because you do want them to engage with you, but you're going to try and just get them to talk back to you the best that you can.
Okay. I think there's the cadence and the variety of communication methods, right? At some point, the customer is going to land on one they're most comfortable with, right? That's why you say when a lead comes in, call them, text them, email them, and the way that they respond to you, that's their chosen method of communication for now. That's great. For some, it is text. That's majority is text. But as we get closer to this appointment setting, a phone call really starts to cement that stuff and that relationship and confirm the setting of that appointment. So we see opportunity in phone call volume. You're dead on that, Eric, right? We see lots of text, lots of email. We do see with almost all of our clients an upside opportunity on the amount of outbound phone calls at this point, because particles out equals particles in, right? We pepper them, okay, with frequency and cadence that's the right way. That's one thing. In the content side, beyond building relationship and beyond answering their questions, right? Video is remarkable, okay? Links to video, walk around of the vehicle that they're interested in, okay? Even and if you're not that far, if you're still in the early relationship building, let's talk about, here's an event calendar, here's a ride calendar for some things we do, here's a video of the last bike night that we did, or something that we did in the community, a charitable ride that we did. Any of those things, again, we consume video and we want emotion out of this stuff. Send them those things, because Jason's point earlier was, look, if all you're saying is, hey, I haven't heard from you, I'm still here, well, they know you're open. They can see your hours of operation on the website. They don't need you to tell them that they're still open. They need something compelling, okay? Send them, make yourself a little video introduction that says, hey, I'm Eric, I'm a real person, and here's a link to my video. And you can actually smile and wave. You get motion and emotion with video, which is great. And I know you have cool product. You have unique products sometimes. We do cool builds and accessorization and customization work in some of these shops. Send pictures and videos and links to that stuff. Send them a link to the OEM promo stuff on the product they're looking at. Again, nobody's doing this. Nobody, I can't say nobody because somebody probably is, but for the most part, nobody's actually doing these things. So cadence is important. Content is important. The combination will set you apart. I think that's a really, really, really big piece right there.
That's kind of, I think you went over it a minute ago too. It's like your physical showroom. The customer that just walks in and says hi to your staff, those ones are easy to deal with. They walk up to someone and say, tell me about a unit. The customer that re-engages online to your first text, those are easy to deal with. They want to talk to you. You want, that interaction, you get it. So ones that are quiet, just lookers. They don't respond right away to that first text. They don't respond or pick up on the first phone call. They don't respond back to an email. You have to work to get that engagement. It's super important that you do it structured, personalized, and consistent. Then when that their life frees up, it may not be on purpose. I don't think there's a lot of customers out there that just say, I'm going to inquire on this unit. I have no interest in buying. I don't think people do that. There is an interest. Depends on where they're at in their buying cycle. If they're at the very beginning, the very middle, or they've already gone through a bad experience at one dealership and now they're looking to be wowed at another. That person is going to respond to you when you do like Eric has said and try to build a relationship geared around all the different things you've gone over. What's important to them? What have they said? What do they need? Then you get that response, and that customer, that's the missing piece that most dealerships, they don't work hard enough in that middle spot. They're really good at greeting them. They're really good at saying hi, and they're really good at closing them. The ones in the middle is where there's that room to grow.
And so we've talked a little bit about this on past episodes, right? But you said it just right, Jason, that we have customers online that act and behave like just looking customers in the showroom, okay? And if you're understaffed in your showroom, in the sales department, you may not have the time to address and drive the conversation with a just looking customer, okay? Because that's salesperson driven business. You have to drive that because the customer is really not ready to engage with you yet. Okay. Customers that come in and say, hey, I want to talk to you. Do you have this color? What's your best price? I'm shopping around. What's my trade worth? Those are easy to talk to. Customer driven business we have to take because they mandate your attention. The ones that are just looking, if we're not staffed right, we never get to those customers. And that's great business because if they're just looking, they haven't shopped price and they haven't arranged financing yet. If we can wow them with a great customer experience, we're going to deliver them today. It's going to be the greatest time they had. And it's going to be a great margin deal for us. Excellent. Same thing happens online. Some people are like, I have a question. I want this. Easy to engage. But the customer that is a little bit quieter, and we call it a no contact cadence. There's things that we need to do to get those customers to re-engage. And again, it's based on the content and the frequency, the quality of the content that's coming out to them, something that actually resonates with them that's different than somebody else is doing. So none of this is easy, right? We talk about it like it's just, oh yeah, just go do that. I understand there's training, there's structure, there's technology, there's people, all those things. But the upside of this is substantial from a growth in your business, a growth in vehicle sales, a growth in gross profit, a growth in net profit, all can come from being better in the digital space. So I've got a diagram here. I referenced it earlier. I think we're going to get it on the screen here. And we've talked about the good things of if we do the three things right. If we get there first, this is great. If we get there best, this is great. If we stay the longest, this is great. But let's look at the liabilities if we don't. Okay, so pretty simple. And at the end of this, you're going to have an opportunity to do two things. There's a couple downloads. One is a 30-day cadence calendar, and the other is this diagram. And both of those would be great things to take back and visit with your team about. Say, how well do we do on these things? Do we have this frequency and cadence of follow-up? Do we have the right content for there? And how do we think, self-assessment, how do we think we do on this, right? And a quick run through, again, three-legged stool. We don't do one of them, stool tips over. We don't want that. We want the thing to stand great, strong. If I have fast follow-up, so I get there first, and I have authentic follow-up, which means I get there best, but I don't stay with it the longest, I don't go through the full nurturing cycle, I lose the lead, right? We left them before they wanted us to leave, and they're going to go somewhere else, okay? Bad. That's a loss, big liability. If we get there fast and we stay with them the longest, but none of it's authentic, okay? Customers can feel that. Cookie cutter or spam feel. We cannot do that. Customers don't want that. They want genuine. And we've got this whole AI component. Is AI getting better? Is it harder to tell if it's cookie cutter? It is. But at some point, we need a human being to get involved in some of these, at least for now. At least for now, we need that. The last piece of that, right, is if I'm genuine in my follow-up and I stay with that customer for a long time, but I didn't get the lead quickly and I don't get to their responses quickly, they're no longer, when I do get to them, they're out of that mindset right now. Okay, so it really takes all three of these things, be first, be best, and stay longest to actually get this customer. And again, I need them set. Then we talk about confirming that appointment. Then we talk about an introduction from the salesperson, the sales manager that's actually going to receive that appointment. And then we talk about the operational excellence that's required to deliver that experience when they show up. Those are different things, and we've had various sessions on those, and we'll continue to revisit those. But none of that can happen. None of that can happen if we don't create a relationship by doing these three things and get the set appointment that's sticky, that makes them want to come. Okay, so Jason, Erica, final thoughts, and then we'll wrap this up with a couple little things. But what would you have for advice or words of caution or words of encouragement or whatever you would like to share with the audience here today?
Well, I think the most important part is, again, we can't treat the online space as less than or easier than our physical space. So you have to have a structured process, digital sales process. I would challenge that there's not a dealer out there in the world that is 100% on their online leads. They just come in and buy and everything's great. So you have to have something around that. If you don't have nothing, having something's better than that. And if you can start building towards being quick, being authentic, and staying in contact that, at the lowest, barest options, you'll see an increase in the effectiveness of your digital sales opportunities. And if you can then improve upon those areas and focus on it, maybe not everybody can give a full-time user to this or a full-time person focused on this, but having a structure is better than not having anything, because it's just only going to, in my thoughts, it's only going to get harder with the amount of online opportunities for customers to spend their dollars. It may not be a power sports unit today. It could be a passenger car tomorrow. It could be a TV. It could be something that disposable money goes to. So having a process is the most important key.
Agreed. Excellent. Erica, what do you think?
As somebody who's been working leads consistently the last couple of days, I just have some words of encouragement. Really, don't stop following up with your leads. Keep in the process. Keep touching those contacts, whether it's text, call, both. Just keep working them, and you will see results.
I think that's a huge one, right? And it's almost, don't get, I don't even want to say discouraged, but sometimes it is discouraging, right? We're trying, and they don't engage. But I also think if we now armed with the knowledge that it is going to take 10, 12, 15 touches and attempts just to get them going, now that we know that that's reality, then don't get discouraged at that point, right? Somebody's going to stay with it the longest. The customer, as Jason said earlier, the customer didn't put that lead out there because they're not interested in getting into this sport, this product, this lifestyle, this community, any of that stuff. They're interested. They're just looking for somebody to help them along the way. Okay, you just have to decide what wants to be you. And I think the last little piece here, right? This is only going to get to be more and more important, right? I don't think we're ever going to see customers move further away from digital. I also don't think customers are ever going to move away from wanting to come in and have the physical in showroom, tactile, experiential visit that's there where they can see it and they can touch it and they can test ride it and they can see the paint and the sun and do all that stuff. So we have to be great in both those spaces. And everything we talked about today, you don't have to pay any more money to drive any more leads. You can do this with the leads you already have. What we're talking about, what Lead Helm is all about, from technology, operational experience, customized solutions, is how do you convert more of your existing leads into kept appointments and sales? I'm not telling you to spend more money on digital advertising. I'm not telling you to spend any more money on anything other than invest in the process, get the technology, and capture the opportunity that is in front of you, because somebody's going to capture it. These customers are going to buy from somebody. You just have to decide if you want to be you on that one. So you can download the 30-day contact, 30-day cadence calendar. You can download the diagram, meet on that with your team, and just say, hey, how do you think we're doing on this, team? Maybe you're doing great. Maybe there's headroom. Either way. This will be part of our newsletter. Again, go to leadhelm.com if you want a newsletter. If you want access to the podcast, it's all there. Or if you want to talk to us in detail about anything, we're always here. We're always happy to talk about it. And we're not just here to talk about technology, right? We like to talk about operations. What are you doing and what's working and what's not working inside the dealership to be great in the digital space, right? Because that's what we thrive on. The technology just supports that, right? But we want to talk about experience and operations and process and so forth. So anyway, Erica, thank you very much. Great debut. Jason, always a pleasure. And for everybody else out there, thanks for taking the time. And again, kudos to you for taking time out of a busy day to continue to be a student of the business. Right? If we're not learning, then we're really missing something. And there's some great materials out there from us and others. So thanks for the time today. Appreciate it. And we're here if you need us. So have a great afternoon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.